Okay, to demonstrate an example of showing how to put in all the data, I have two screens pulled up here. I have a one main t-test homework problem, scenario 3, and I'm going to walk through that for you. It says in 2014, a report by the Forbes magazine has stated that the average number of doctor visits per year is less than 4. So I'm going to highlight that because we're probably going to need that, less than 4. A researcher randomly selects how many people, 10 people, and obtained the average doctor visits for those 10 people. And then the question is at 0.05 level of significance, can it be concluded that the average is still less than 4 visits per year? So I've highlighted those. I kind of like to do that as I'm going through an example. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put that in Minitab, so I have it in here. So our data that we're putting in are the 10 people and how many doctor visits they had per year. Doctor visits per year. And I always continue without autosave. You don't need to do any of that. And then I'm just going to put them in. So I hit 3, enter, didn't go. 3, enter, 2, enter, 5, enter, 6, enter, 7, enter, 2, 1, 4, 3, and 1. And I always go back and double check my data because this was the number of visits. So person number 1 had 3 doctor's visits in a year, then 2. Person number 3 had 5, 6, 7, 2, 1, 4, 3, 1. Okay, so I double check my data because if that's off, then everything will be off. Now I want to go over here and let's go ahead and let's do our steps in Minitab because that will help us with all the questions. So notice that I am not given the population standard deviation. That is why I'm doing a t-test. So to run a t-test, you go to Stat, Basic Stats, and it's a 1 sample t-test. And typically in a lot of the problems we've done, you have summarized data. So they told you what the sample mean and the sample population standard the standard deviation is and the sample stuff. But this time we have the sample in a column. It's then these 10 people's doctor visits. So I put samples in a column and I click here. And once I click my cursor there, then I can either put C1 because it's in column 1, or you can just double click on this and it will pop it in there for you. And I am performing a hypothesis test around, and remember, this is what we're performing it around. I want to know if the doctor visits really are less than 4 or not. So the hypothesized mean is that we're thinking it's less than 4. So I'm putting in a 4. And I click on options, the confidence level. It says at the 0.05 level of significance, that relates to a confidence level of 95. Had it said 0.01, it would relate to a confidence level of 99. Or you can actually put 0.05 there and it will work as well, but I just leave the 95 there. And again, our alternate hypothesis. Now, this is how I try to figure out my alternate and my null hypothesis. We want to know, so I'll just come up here for a second and make a space. We want to know less than 4. So that is less, we want to know if our mean is less than 4. And mean is that fancy U, but right now I'm just going to use a regular U. U is less than 4. Oop. I want that to be lowercase, but it automatically capitalizes it. And the opposite of U is less than 4, or that the population mean is less than 4, is that the population mean is greater than or equal to 4. So once I figure out what those two symbols are, that's what I'm going to use. Those are my comparisons. The hypothesis the null hypothesis always gets the one with the equal to part. So that is why this is your answer there. So the equal to part is greater than or equal to 4. So that is why that is your correct answer there. And then the alternate hypothesis is the opposite of that, which is the less than 4. Okay, so that's why those are like that. Now we can go back to Minitab now that I've chosen those, because it says, what is your alternate hypothesis? And remember, that's the one that's less than 4. So the population mean is less than the hypothesized mean, which was 4, and click OK and OK. And here we have all our information we need. And again, if you look here, it put in our alternate hypothesis there, our null hypothesis. Well, and Minitab, for some reason, they only put equal there, but it is equal, greater than. What is the test statistic? The test statistic is always found here. So it's negative 0.92. There you go. The p-value rounded to 3 decimal places is 0.191. What is the conclusion when you compare your p-value to the level of significance? So let me walk through that real quick. So that's how to use Minitab. So that's pretty much finished. This is the sample information. There were 10 in our sample, the mean of the sample, the mean standard deviation. But this is pretty much what we needed to run our t-test. So the conclusion when comparing p. So how I always read it, how I always remember it is people eat fish from the river Nile. That means people, and this is what I use for eat. People eat fish. That's your significance level. That is let me see if I can find real quick that symbol to show you what that is. People, and why I say fish there. Let's insert a symbol here. It should be, here it is. People eat fish, and I kind of think that looks like a fish. People eat fish from the, then reject the null. So what happens is if p, and that's the small p, if our if p is less than our significance level, then we will reject the null hypothesis. So let's see, p is from number 16 here, 0.191. 0.191. And I want to know if that's less than or equal to our significance level. And remember that was given as 0.05. And I always make it, both of them have 3 decimal places. So really what we're looking for here is we're looking to see if 191 is less than 50. And it is not. Since it's not less than, then we are not rejecting the null hypothesis. If we're not rejecting the null hypothesis, we're basing our answer on the null hypothesis. So that's right here. This is our null hypothesis, and we're going to base our answer on it. And that's how we get our final answer, greater than or equal to 4 or not less than 4. So come down here and read the conclusions. We are not rejecting the null hypothesis, so you choose fail to reject the null hypothesis. And then to word that, it's at the 0.05 level of significance, can it be concluded that the average is still less than 4 visits, or is not less than 4 visits? We concluded that it's greater than or equal to 4 visits, so it is not less than 4 visits. So you kind of look at the wording they have and base it on that. Typically, your final conclusion will be based on whether you chose the alternate hypothesis or not, which was less than 4, and it's not less than 4. So that's how come they've worded it like that. So I hope that helps. Let me also go back here to Minitab. And then when I'm finished with this problem, I just start a whole new problem. This is because the population standard deviation was not given, so we used a t-test. If the population standard deviation had been given, we would have gone basic stats and done a 1 sample Z, whether we have our stuff in a column or we're giving all the summarized data in the words of the problem to begin with. So I hope this helps, and let me know if I can be of further assistance.